Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Money and Improv or Improv and Money conversation. I started doing these because I set off a conversation probably a couple of months now ago in the WhatsApp community group talking about how do we make money from improv? Does anybody make money from improv? What ways are there? And so I've done about 4 of these discussions so far. And today I have the lovely Alistair with me, who's going to talk about his experience of improv and running shows and trying to make money, making money, promoting his own shows, and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a really good conversation. So lovely to see you, Alistair. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So do you want to tell people who don't know you so well a little bit about what you do kind of for work, a little bit about what you do as a performer, and then kind of what got you started in improv?
Yeah. So I mean, my background professionally is that I'm a video game developer. I've been making my own video games for almost 25 years now. Started when I was a teenager, and then when I left university, which is just over 15 years ago now, it was kind of the early days of the iPhone and the iPad, and I really wanted to have a go at seeing if I could make myself a career as an indie game developer. And so I started making games for iPhone and iPad, and one thing led to another. Things grew and changed and evolved, and now I find myself in my day-to-day work as a games programmer and designer, and in my creative world, I do interactive stage shows. I do games that use strange devices like paper shredders. I've got a game that you play with a paper shredder. I've got a show called the Incredible Playable Show, which is
a
made.
lot of fun.
Thank you very much. And that's basically like an hour-long interactive comedy show where the audience gets on the stage and runs around the auditorium with weird custom-made controllers and barcode scanners or tying tablets to their bellies and pretending to be Power Rangers and stuff like that. So yes, and then off the back of starting doing shows like that, I found myself eventually performing on stage as a clown in interactive clown shows, which is where next week I will be heading up to Edinburgh Fringe to do my very first Fringe run of My Date with Pierce Brosnan, which is an interactive clown show where the audience provides all the voice lines for a talking dummy of Pierce Brosnan.
Amazing. So exciting. So how did you get started like in improv, and what came first? Was it improv came first, clowning came first, or how, like, were you a performer when you were little? I imagine you were, Alistair.
Yeah. So I mean, if you'd asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, when I was like 10 or 11, I would have said a poet or an actor. And then, and I used to, I did a lot of like after school drama clubs and stuff up until about secondary school, and secondary school kind of sucked the fun out of it a bit. And it kind of, in a way, it got kind of buried away into a back drawer in my mind. But I found myself, with games I was doing, the more stuff I was doing, the more I was giving talks at conferences and doing, showing people how to play my games was becoming a performance. I was quite enjoying that performance, particularly as the games got weirder and the conversation that you needed to have with people to make them feel comfortable and confident getting involved, that became a bit more nuanced. That was very exciting. And so I always find that part of the process a really exciting bit. And I found, I always said, like, explaining to people how to play your game, tells you as much about the game that you're making than watching them play it. Because it's like when you're trying to describe it to them, the first sentence, you see their eyes glaze over, something that you're doing is not quite right.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of nascent buds of the performer in there. I moved to Bristol just over 10 years ago, and I don't live that far away from the Bristol Improv Theatre. So I started going there once I moved, and spoke to the performers after the shows and was like, wow, these like improv performers, they think a lot like game designers. That whole thing of the performance on stage it is like a game,
Yeah.
and you follow the rules or the mechanics, or the intentions of the game, and the material writes itself. That is what happens in a good video game
Right.
is, and so I found that particularly interesting, and that became a kind of creative thing, and it started the thought of, oh, I'd really like to make a video game that you play on the stage.
Yeah.
Um, and that basically set everything into motion to become the incredible playable show. So the first one of those I did was almost 10 years ago. So this October, it'll be the 10th anniversary of that show. Um, and, doing that, it went through various phases because it had to go through those really uncomfortable first shows where it wasn't very good. It was
Yeah.
the games weren't fun and everybody felt uncomfortable on stage. To the point where it got to a point, okay, people are really enjoying this, but I'm having a bit of a problem where sometimes the show goes really, really well, and
Mm.
sometimes the show just doesn't pick up. People don't feel confidence getting on the stage. And it seemed to be based on whether or not people knew me in advance. Like, if
Okay.
I
Yeah.
had a couple of friends in the audience, I could guarantee everything would work.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was total strangers, it could be really hit or miss how comfortable people felt joining in. And so a friend at a games event said, "Oh, you should try clowning, because clowns are all about interacting with the audience.
Mm.
Clowns, it's all about building a relationship, building a rapport with the audience."
Yeah.
Um, so I thought, okay, yeah, that will fix the one thing that's missing from this show is that I'm not, I can't guarantee I'll build a good relationship with the audience.
Yeah, because
That's,
like unlike a lot of improv shows where we just take suggestions from the audience, like your audience are a key part. So they're either like putting Pierce Brosnan's lines into the phone or they're literally taking part on the stage. So it's a different type of interaction.
yeah. And if you can't create a space where they trust you,
Yeah,
then nothing happens. You want people to, if you're inviting people to come up onto the stage and take a barcode scanner off of you and then, play a game where they have to run around a room, they need to feel confident that, it's safe to do that, that you're not
yeah,
going to make fun of them, that they're not going to, they're not going to lose and then, oh, everybody watch them be shit at a game. I hope
yeah.
I'm allowed to swear.
You are.
Brilliant. No one wants to be seen, but you've got an audience of 30 people watching you be shit at a game. That's really embarrassing.
Yeah,
So I want people to feel reassured that, like, not only like, you know, with the games, there isn't really a way to lose. I mean, there are ways to lose, but there's not
yeah,
really ways to lose. And also, we enjoy failure in this space. We applaud it. Everything is a success. Everything
yeah,
is um, and to make people trust that that is the ethos of the show is quite a big thing because people don't know who I am. They've never met me before.
yeah,
And it's a big risk to come up on stage with me when I am in a position as, the person with the big status who has been invited to be here.
yeah,
You know, you're just an audience member. You just paid a ticket price. There's a power dynamic, and
yeah,
you I think people are quite rightly scared, and it is the job of the performer to make people feel safe and comfortable and like they will be celebrated for everything they do. Um,
lovely.
and once you get to that point, then people are willing to, they'll start running around a lot, they'll start being more energetic, and they'll start being more experimental and testing the boundaries of what they can get away with.
Yeah,
And so with the Pierce Brosnan show, and my date with Pierce Brosnan, I'm a clown on a date with a talking dummy of Pierce Brosnan, um, and they can type in whatever they want. If the audience doesn't feel comfortable, you'll get a lot of safe suggestions. You'll get,
yeah,
"Hello, I'm Pierce Brosnan," and you'll get, "Did you like me in my movies?" or something like that.
yeah,
Whereas if people are willing to take a risk, you know, they will say things like, "Climb inside of me," um, or, "Make love to me right now," or something like that. And
yeah,
that's where the juicy material comes from. That's when you start playing a game. It's that, you're playing a game with the audience, is that they are giving you, you know, they are giving you a provocation, I've forgotten the word we use for it in improv. But you are standing that provocation,
Yeah.
and then that inspires them to go, oh, well, if she does that with the dummy, what else can we get her to do? And
Yeah.
and they're yes-anding you back, and they're not doing that because you told them to yes and. They're doing it because it's fun to yes and. You
Yeah.
know, they don't need they don't need to know the rules. They just need to trust that this is a safe space where they can, you know, where you can take a risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was one of the great things I learned from clown school. So I mean, to go back to the original question, I apologize. I feel like I'm doing a lot
Oh
of
no, I love it. I love this. It's
yammering.
creative people. Like, just tell us a load of stories. It's all great.
Brilliant. So yeah, I mean, I did clowning for a few years, just mostly at workshops and intensives. I did a
Yeah.
lot with Holly Stop It,
Yeah.
and then started doing more with Igni Barkhuiskaiter, who is an excellent clown teacher here in Bristol. Holly Stop It, also excellent, is running, she regularly runs
Yeah.
courses. Igni doesn't live in Bristol anymore, so she comes in occasionally. If you see Igni's courses come up, absolutely do sign up because they are wonderful, wonderful experiences. Um, but yeah, for many years I was doing these, and I was dreaming of like, I was using it as input. This is good because this is helping me understand and perform better, both as a performer on a stage, but also as a game designer. When you're creating games, I like games to be very loose. I like them to be open-ended. I like every player to be able to do something that no other player would have thought to do.
Okay.
I like that even in just regular video games.
Yeah.
So clowning was really helpful for that, in terms of whether it's in a digital space or a physical space. How can you build the trust and connection that allows people to do that, and then allows people to feel comfortable taking risks? But like, um, while I was doing that and using that to inform my work, I was also going, I really, because I just love clowning for its own
Mm.
sake. I would love to do an just the video game clown show. What is the video game clown show? What is the show that takes all the things that I think are that I love about video games and technology, and all the things that I love about clown, and brings them together so that they're greater than the sums of their parts? And that's how I ended up on a date with Pierce Brosnan.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a journey. And then improv, in a way, kind of comes in almost tangentially, because it was there very, at that inceptive moment. Even though I wasn't going to workshops, I was just going to watch it, and I was chatting to the performers. And then post-pandemic, coming back into it and going, like, I started doing the workshops, and it was a great way to make a lot of good friends.
Yeah.
But also going, oh yeah, there's other levers to this thing. There's other directions to this thing, and there are opportunities to perform and play with other people. So I also perform here in Bristol with the Adorable Spies, with our show The Brothers Grin, which is the fairy tale one, if
Yeah.
anyone's seen that. I've just started performing with Emma Geen, as part of Tilly and Tina's
Yeah.
75th birthday party. So I play with identical twins. It shouldn't matter which of Tilly and Tina I am, but I am Tilly, because it's easier to remember. Tilly rhymes with Ali and Tina rhymes with Emma.
Yeah.
But yes, so there's a lot of fun stuff going on. That's a sort of little
Fantastic.
potted history.
Yeah, no, it's great. And kind of taking all the things you love and putting them into one place, but also going,
Mm,
oh, this is very similar to something else I know a lot about.
yeah,
Like, this is similar to this, but actually what you then want to do is like, oh, what if I put them together? And so
exactly.
where did the female characters come from? Because most of the time I've seen you in a show, you've played a female character. I don't know if you would call it drag, or whether it's more kind of a character part, but I'm curious about where that came from.
Yeah, I mean, the first question, yes, I do call it drag. I think
Yeah.
it's, drag is
I like to
such a
use the
wonderful
appropriate
form.
words at the appropriate
Yes,
time.
but it is interesting, because I've been asked, oh, is this drag or is this clown? And I'm like, it's both.
Yeah,
It's
for
drag
sure.
and it's clown and it's theater and it's video games.
Yeah.
it is
And I
all
think
fun.
all the characters I've seen you, all the female characters I've seen you in are obviously clowns.
Mm,
Like whether they've had the, you know, the nose or the something, you go, oh, I know what this is. That's why I was
yeah,
querying about, would you call it drag? Because I've seen drag and it's not always a clown. So it's kind of, but then you go, it's just words, it's just titles that we use to try
yeah,
and distinguish different
yeah.
things. But
I mean, for me, the thing, and it is one of these things that I kind of discovered on one of Igny's workshops, it was when we were performing in costume, and I really struggled to get into performing with a costume, um, like unless it was very abstract. Like if
yeah,
I was dressed in a suit or a uniform, like a policeman's uniform or a fireman's
yeah,
uniform or something, or an astronaut's uniform, like I don't know how to be. I don't know how to be an astronaut. I don't know how to be a policeman. I don't know how to be a man who wears a suit.
yeah,
Um, but what I did get a lot from was very abstract costumes. So I
yeah,
made myself robes made out of sheets of paper torn out from novels.
yeah,
Um, and I made myself a sort of moo out of bin bags. And I think I wrapped a bed sheet around myself, made myself a halo, and I was God. And
yeah,
sort of abstract things were they were a lot more fruitful for me.
yeah,
So I tended to go, you know, just play when we did costume with Igni. I would be, you know, bringing in what's my new weird abstract idea. How can I change the shape of my body? What if I'm entirely inside a cardboard box or something like that?
yeah. So
Um,
kind of picking things that really kind of ignited your creativity rather than if you're a bloke in a suit, it's like,
mm,
I know I'm a character, but I don't feel at all inspired by that.
yeah. Um, the interesting
No
thing
offense to
was,
anyone who loves wearing a suit, by the way.
yeah, well done. I've never figured out how to enjoy wearing a suit myself. Um, but like and then one day, I was like, you know what? Let's take a big swing here. And I got this maid's costume. I was like, right, I'm going to do it in a French maid's costume this time around. Let's see how
Beautiful.
this
Yeah,
works out. And it really popped.
yeah,
People, it was one of these things at the workshop. I could be doing absolutely nothing. I could just be like, dusting a book or something like that. And as long as I held people's gaze, like just look them in the eye while I'm doing anything,
yeah,
absolutely anything, they found it incredibly funny. And
yeah,
I found it really fun as well. And I'm like, oh, I seem to be in flow here. And I
yeah,
think there is just, I think just in general, I clown better when I'm, you know, when I'm a female character.
yeah,
And I just feel like I do. I just clown better in drag.
yeah,
I have other male characters I've performed in. So there's a lovely video of me a couple of years ago as the Christmas Goblin. And he was very much like, he was a kind of coded character. But I think the interesting thing is he was definitely had the sensibilities of a little boy.
yeah,
Like, and there is something, in that is that I do there are big swings I tend to go towards. Drag playing a female character, that's a nice big swing that I really enjoy.
yeah,
Playing someone who is a, little chaos goblin child, that's a lot of
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
I also like playing quite big, imposing figures like God or something
yeah,
like that. Um, I think there's something in the big swing of it.
yeah,
I think like yeah, and so yeah, honestly, I just have more fun as a female character,
yeah.
and that's
Beautiful. And I
yeah,
think like this is one of the things I love about improv myself is like I love playing different characters, different to me and different to
mm,
each other. I like,
yeah,
what haven't I done, or what haven't I done this week, or what's a character that I don't think I've done before or very often, and really challenging myself to kind of step into something different, because it's like
yeah,
the novelty and variety for me is what like really does it for me. So I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I'm going to try doing this. And I think the lovely thing about improv, it's all a big experiment. So it's like I might make a great mechanic, you know, in
yeah,
blokey mechanic from
yeah,
Manchester, or I might not, but I'm going to have a go and see what happens. Because
yes,
whether it's really good character or not a very good character, it'll be fun for people to watch and it'll be fun for me to
yeah,
do. So it's like,
absolutely,
yeah, 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 fantastic. So let's get down to the nitty gritty of talking
yeah,
about money. money and improv, because you were brave enough to raise your hand and go, oh, I'll talk about this with you. So do you want to talk a bit about like your journey making money from improv or your own shows, kind of things that you've found that have worked really well, things that haven't worked so well, more from just like, here's your experience point of view. But if any learning points for other people come out while you're talking about it, that's all great.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing, like, that speaks, and it was why I was like, when you're talking about it, it's like, okay, I think I do have quite an interesting, perhaps unusual perspective on this.
Yeah,
I came into this world through the world of video games.
yeah,
It's like video games led me to clown, clown led me to improv. So I'm a few
yeah,
degrees away from the usual pathway to putting on a show.
yeah,
And when I was, when I started putting on shows, I was putting them on within the video game world. So I was putting them on at, games festivals. So there's quite a few. Well, I mean, there used to be quite a few of them in the UK. Post-pandemic, there's not been quite so many in the UK, but there is
okay.
quite a healthy culture of it abroad,
So
particularly
you put your
Germany and the
so you put your
Netherlands.
performance into the games world rather than putting it into the theatre world. So you put something
Yeah,
unusual into like gatherings and
yes, yeah, and I mean, just for a bit of context, I still look at what I'm doing, even with the Pierce Brosnan show. To me, I'm still making a video game. It's
yeah,
just a really weird video game that that involves this strange controller that is made of flesh and
yeah,
has grease paint on its face.
okay, yeah,
Like
great,
so but within that world, I think it had the benefit of it. What it was, the incredible playable show was very much like pushing the boundaries of what we could do with video games,
yeah,
and a lot of these festivals were quite interested in it. So it started out like, when I first did it, it was just at a festival, and I was just doing it for free. I can't remember if they paid my accommodation or not. But I was there to test out the concept and develop it. Because and see how it developed. From that point on, um, I did start getting booked to perform at events, and sometimes it would be like early on. It was really they would pay my travel.
yeah,
They would pay my travel and accommodation,
yeah,
but like we want you to come and shoot, like they would have someone exhibiting a game or giving a talk.
yeah,
And then after about a year into doing that, um, I started I I started charging basically, and I
yeah,
can't remember in what order things came. Whether people asked me, you know, and I said yes, but it costs this much money,
yeah,
or if I started going, okay, I'm going to pitch it to events, but I'm also going to tell them what it costs,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But the thing is, I would generally do a lot of performances, if it seemed like it could be the start of an opportunity for me, um, you know, I would do it without being paid. I would do it, uh, for just travel and accommodation. And if it was a particularly big opportunity, I would pay for my travel and accommodation myself. If I'm going, this could start interesting career trajectories for me.
yeah,
Um, so, but what I found is there is a nice thing of when you're booked to perform at an event, regardless of whether it's a paid gig or you're doing it off of your own back.
yeah,
Um, it does take a lot of the complications out of it in that the audience is there. You
yes,
don't have to work hard to get bums on seats
yeah,
because there are already people at this festival, and you're the only thing on at stage 2 at 8 o'clock.
yeah,
So people are going to come to see you because they're curious to see what this thing is, or because there's nothing else on, or
yeah,
whatever it is. You don't have to do the promotion. The promotion has been done for you by the festival, and that's a nice thing. Um, Now, so a lot of my experience where performing has paid money for me, it has been to be booked to perform at something else. not, you know, if I would still book a venue to uh you know, so I've done this recently, you know, I have booked out People's Republic of Stokes Croft or the Bristol Improv Theatre, Front Room down in Western Supermare.
Yeah.
And you know, you book it out and you put a show on there. But I'm not doing that expecting to make a profit. You know,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable as long as I don't make a big loss.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, if you do make a profit on those shows, you're not going to make that much more of a, you know, that much of a profit anyway. Um, it's, you know, if you compare it to doing a day's work at the job you already have,
Yeah.
like it's not that much. But what you want to get out of it is the experience, or maybe the new connections that come out of it. Maybe it helps you flesh out the material, understand the material better. Maybe you want to get better at promoting, or maybe you want to get spotted, or all of these things. Is all of those benefits are the things that you want out of those gigs.
Yeah.
And as long as that doesn't cost you too much,
Yeah.
like you're getting a benefit. Like if you know, for example, let's say you've got a group of six of you, and you do like a group of six of you, and you book out People's Republic of Stokescroft or something, you know, with lights or whatever, and say that sets you back £200, and £200 divided by six people, that is, let's say, just under £40. Now, if you sold no tickets at all, then you would be out £40.
Yeah.
If you sell a few tickets, you might be out £20 or something. Let's say you're going to expect to make a £20 loss on that. You would pay £20 to go for a 2-hour training session.
Yeah.
And performing in front of a real audience is much better training and development than a 2-hour training session.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately, you know, what you want out of those ones is you want bums on seats. And
Yeah.
that's the main thing that matters. You want bums on seats because bums on seats is good for your development as a performer,
Yeah.
creative development, you know, figuring out the show and also figuring out how you're supposed to pitch it. But the actual benefits, it either comes from sort of, well, maybe you get paid a big slug of money to perform at this event. You know, maybe it's a corporate bookings, and I never really had many of those. I think I had a couple of birthday parties with Incredible Playable Show, and those were really good fun. But mostly for me, it was conferences, trade shows, and like festivals,
Yeah.
a couple of science festivals as well as the video games ones. And they, you know, they will give you a slug of money and you will go, oh, that's quite nice. That's
Yeah.
like that's like a day's work or 2 days work at my normal job, maybe 3 days work at my normal job if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Um, Plus I get a trip to wherever. And sometimes
Yeah.
that trip to wherever is a trip to Germany. And that's
Yeah.
pretty exciting, you know, or
Yeah.
trip to the Netherlands, or like so yeah. Um, but long term, the thing that I'm looking for commercially is I am looking for, you know, as a career standpoint, what opportunities does this create in the future?
Yeah.
Um, and it's not about the individual gigs, it's about so let's say someone from Channel 4 is there and they're like, oh God, I would love to see, well, would Video Game Clown Show work on Channel 4? You know, and I'm not saying maybe it probably doesn't, but what is the things that lead you to that opportunity or the opportunities that are like it? You know, let's
Yeah.
say Punch Drunk Theatre, they're doing a pop-up at the Barbican. How do you get on their radar? And
Yeah.
then that's the stuff where you would like actually make a meaningful income out of that. Anything else, as long as you're not making a massive loss on it, I think is kind of just quibbling. So the big question isn't so much about how do you make money, but how do you make this, you know, a vehicle to getting the opportunities that you want out of it. And maybe it's press, maybe that's what you want out of it. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, if you get a 5-star review from, you know, Bristol 24/7, that might lead to a 5-star review in um, I don't know, Somerset something, and that might get you on Chortle, and then Chortle will get you in the Guardian, and then the Guardian gets you on Channel 4. I think
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it anyway.
Yeah. No, that's great. So it's kind of it's looking at the numbers and knowing what the numbers are and knowing about where you could make a bit of money or a bit of a loss, but there's other benefits to doing the shows. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, it feels like the word is like it's an investment. It's an
yeah,
investment in your growth and development. It's an investment in the troupe as a performer,
yeah,
performing troupe. It's an investment in your network and connections. And like you were saying, with a lot of it being focused around the improv theatre, going to see lots of shows. I got known as, I'm at the classes and I'm in the I'm in the audience. I'm often talking to people I don't know, and like whatever. And then it's like, oh, now I want to be more of the performing side of it. I want to be seen to
mm,
be as a performer. So it's kind of moving over. And then we did a show, one of my troops yesterday after the interval. And it was a total experiment, and we did it at a pub in Fish Ponds, which was the local pub of one of the guys in the troupe. And it was really interesting, just kind of having done all these conversations with people and then going through the process of, do we charge, do we not charge, like what are we expecting, what would we like to happen. And so to have a kind of sold out venue yesterday with 60 people, most or if not all have paid some money to go there, and it's like, great. That to me is like a win-win-win. The pub made a load of money because they sold a load of drinks to these
yeah,
people. We made a bit of money, which will pay for some rehearsal space or a social event for us all.
yeah,
The people had a lovely evening and got to invest in the performing arts, because sometimes, like, even as an audience member, if I'm buying a ticket, I'm investing in keeping the arts world going. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I'm happy to pay for my own entertainment, but it's also like, this is where I choose to put my money so that Bristol still has a
yes,
thriving arts scene. Like,
yeah,
because I'm putting some money towards it, kind of thing. So
yeah. I mean, I think what you achieved in that show was brilliant, because that wasn't a traditional improv audience. That wasn't an audience of people who,
totally,
already
there
go
were
and
no,
see
there
a
was
lot of
no one from the
improv,
improv community in the audience. It
which
was
is
like,
brilliant.
whoa, okay,
And so you as performers, you get a very rich experience of, understanding your relationship with the audience. Let's say maybe it's an audience who's not as willing to be on board as an improv audience might be, and maybe need a bit more warming up or something. Or maybe they're a bit more curious because they've not seen it before, and everyone who sees a lot of improv is kind of a bit jaded by, stuff that's familiar. So maybe the connection comes easier. But the fact that you learn these things is what's important, because that's something that you can take to other venues and other shows and other concepts.
totally.
And maybe you start doing stand up. Well, all of this experience is useful for that as
Yeah, so
well.
they definitely have comedy at that pub. So they have audiences that go to that space for comedy. So there is kind of a slight overlap. But I think what I was reminded of when people were talking to me afterwards was like, because it was non-improvisers, they think it's brilliant, because like,
Yeah,
who can make up a 40-minute show with no script? Well, we can. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? So we only asked for a couple of, it's not like your show, so we only asked for a couple of suggestions at the beginning to kind of
yeah.
the relationship between the first two people, and somebody threw something in that was really interesting. So at the beginning, we've got two people going to the theatre, and somebody said like siblings, so we had siblings, and then somebody else said one of them's a donor for the other, so they donated an organ to the other one. And we were
Oh,
like, oh, what a rich, juicy suggestion. So
yes.
we've never had anything like that before. And
Yeah,
we were like, oh my God, yes. Like,
yeah,
we have no idea where this is going to take us, obviously, and how almost like how to handle that sensitively. But it was so good. And people at the end were like, they know that we made it up and did improv
yeah,
because it was such a left field suggestion.
yes.
We're like, okay, we're now talking about kidney transplants. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
brilliant.
So yeah, really interesting. And
Yeah,
forgetting how magical it is for people who don't see a lot of impro to see shows just coming to, being born and performed
yeah,
at the same time. And we all came away going, oh my God, like I'd forgotten, because we're so used to, like you say, performing in front of other improvisers and stuff.
yeah. And
Um,
then, and all that additional, in order to, was it what, 60 seats he sold
yeah,
out, was it?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
60. Yeah.
So to sell out 60 seats, 50 seats of people who do not know improv, and what were the things that you needed to do to, to get them to come along? And, like, I don't take this as a sort of cynical kind of purely financial, oh, how do we coax the ants into the trap or whatever. No, it's you're understanding what do I need to do to relate to people who don't know what improv is,
Totally.
or just relate to a different set of people and make them feel comfortable coming along to something that might be a risk for them to come along. They might come along and be bored or disappointed or feel uncomfortable or whatever, and they're going, no,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm going to trust these performers and I'm going
Yeah.
to come along to it. And there is
Yeah, and I
something
think and
that
I
you
think with a
deeply.
lot of them, it goes back to what you said at the beginning. A lot of them weren't improvisers, but they knew someone in the show. So
Yeah,
it's that whole thing of like, okay, I don't know an improv, but I know Tim or I know Chloe, or they work with them, or they're partners or friends or colleagues, or because it was Tim's local, he was like, I'm just when we were like getting to half sold out a couple of days before, it was like, right, I'm going to message
yeah.
everyone I know and tell them. It was kind of like all the energy went into the last kind of 3 or 4 days, but then we went from like 15 seats sold to sold out in that time,
Yeah,
because like, who can we invite directly? So yeah, we learned, and like you were saying, we learned a lot about putting on a show and getting bums on seats, and how to do things. And even today it's like, we would do that again, we wouldn't do it like that again, let's make sure next time. And we're already talking about when should we go back and do another one, because we've now got an audience that have seen improv, and we can
yeah,
say it's sold out last time, so get your tickets early. Do you know what I mean?
yep,
It's like, so we've got
yeah,
kind of that uh that one experience to bring with us, which was
yes.
really good. So a lot of, I think, going back to some of the other talks on this, a lot of the doubts and fears that people have of like, can I charge money, or is it worth it, or what if they don't like it and they've paid for a ticket. It's like, well, I've paid a lot of money for some great theatre shows that I didn't think were very good. Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know, there's no guarantees with anything. I remember one year taking my
yeah,
parents, we used to go to the pantomime a lot. We went to the pantomime. I lived in Bath. I bought 3 pantomime tickets, for me and my parents for Christmas.
yeah.
And we went, and we all came out. My parents are real theatre people as well. And they came out, and we were just like, oh my God, I can't believe I've spent all that much money. And I was like, I'm really sorry, that wasn't very good. I really wish we'd gone out for a nice dinner instead. So, it happens even in the biggest
Yeah,
theatres and stuff. But yeah, I think it was a good thing to go. People do want to pay, and people spend money on enjoying themselves, and we can
yeah,
receive some of that money ourselves. Kind of thing.
yeah. And if it allows us to, know, to keep going and go, okay, brilliant, I can do another show without having to worry about it breaking the bank,
Exactly. Or our
Um,
rehearsal spaces are paid for the next 2 months,
yeah,
so that's great. And then
yeah,
it allows us to develop the show and do it again, kind of thing. So it's kind of
yeah,
the money's invested back in the show, but that's great, because it's like, if all we
yeah,
do is break even, that's still good, because we're not paying
yeah,
for our hobby, sort of thing. But
exactly, yeah,
yeah, it's all good.
yeah.
So yeah. So is there anything else you want to share about improv and money, or just like your approach to your shows, or your approach to kind of, well, I suppose the other thing is like blending a day job with, because you do so much performing. It's like,
Yeah.
and you do well. Before we started recording, you were telling me about, we were supposed to have this call like, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and then Alistair was busy, and then it was like supposed to be yesterday, and then he's like, I'm in Margate sorting out an animatronics thing, and I'm like, this is the coolest, I can't make it message I've ever had. So let's talk a little bit about that, like the
Yeah.
blend of your busy day job, going to Edinburgh, doing these performances. Like, how do you manage all that? Because
So I
that's the
work as a
that's the case with
freelancer.
a lot of people who have a day job and are adding improv
Yeah.
into that, as well as trying to have, relationships and downtime and fitness and all the other things we're trying to fit in.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I work as a freelancer. And so I think like that does give me a bit of flexibility.
Yeah,
Now I guess people that know me particularly well might know that I had one regular client for many, many years who kept on coming back to a point where I kind of, wasn't was never too worried about my income.
Okay.
And then a couple of years ago, that company said, "Brilliant, thank you very much, Alistair. We've got everything we want out of you." And I had to go, "Oh God, I
Right.
I
Yeah.
need to build up this business because I've sort of not had to pay attention to it. It was, in a way, like I was in a position because I knew I could rely on that.
Yeah.
I knew I did have free time in the calendar to develop quite ambitious projects.
Yeah.
So these last couple of years have been a bit more hectic as I've had to sort of, you know, make good on a lot of outrageous claims I've been making, to myself. Outrageous claims such as, everything I am doing on a stage, everything I'm doing with these weird controllers, because, I think the games with the weird controllers would have roughly broke even,
Yeah.
in terms because I did get paid to exhibit them at some places, just like I got paid to do shows. But, the real intention of them from a career point of view,
Yeah.
creatively, I would have done them anyway.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
can't switch off that thing. But in
Yeah.
terms of, justifying this as, look, this is a career thing, and it is fine to spend a like work days plural amount of time on
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
to actually
Absolutely.
spend proper time on it like you're actually working a job,
Yeah.
is because this is the stuff that will create opportunities for future work, and future work that's more exciting, because you know who else do we get to design an interactive show for us,
Yeah.
like, well, we'll get that Alistair guy. He's already got track record. He's done it
Yeah.
himself. And so over
Yeah.
the past couple of years, I've been trying to make good on that, in that, okay, I've got this portfolio of stuff. I've not needed to hunt for clients, but now I'm having to, hunt for clients again. And I really want them to be attracted to my interesting portfolio and
Yeah.
hiring me to do interesting work. And so
Yeah.
the project I'm doing right now, which involves animatronics, I guess is one of the first points where I've gone, okay, I think this is where it's cashing in now. This is where it's paying off from that perspective, is that
Yeah.
because this project I am working, well, like I say, I'm working with animatronics. I've done a lot of custom hardware and, making games that communicate with weird custom made devices.
Yeah.
That's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
This involves theatre. This is for an installation that's going to be at an um, at a like a big games marketing event. I can't talk too much about it because it is, the
Yeah.
details are all under NDA, but it
Yeah.
does involve animatronics. It does
Yeah.
involve actors,
Yeah.
and it involves, like software, which has to do a bunch of funky stuff. But it functions like a game. It's got branching storylines and things like that. This is stuff I've dealt with before, I've built before.
Yeah.
Um, and oh, and it's got to be able so that we can have an actor operating it like a kind of showrunner. So the actor is in a kind of hidden booth and they can interact with this thing and control what's going on. And like, brilliant. I've made those interfaces in my own shows. So
Yeah.
it like all of these things are things that I've done before for my own work.
Yeah.
Um, and mean, yeah, I'm quite a nice person to hire to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, career-wise, this is my hope, is that the more of this stuff that I do, whether it's paid work or whether it's my own project, that is going to create opportunities for more work
Yeah.
like that, which
Yeah.
is
For
much
sure.
more interesting than just, yeah, I animated the water in the latest Call of Duty or something like that,
Yeah.
which I never have done. I have never um, worked on any, big AAA titles or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's much more interesting to say, yeah, I worked on this big scale animatronics project with live actors.
Yeah.
I did all the software side of that. And also, while doing that, I'm creating my own interactive clown shows about, like, well, talking dummies of Pierce Brosnan, and I want to, after Edinburgh Fringe, I want to get back to work on the Mermaid one, and I've got
Yeah.
ideas for one based on Dante's Inferno and stuff like that I want to like sink my teeth into, you know. And if I can find a way to keep doing that
Yeah.
at the same time as doing the contract work, which I have largely been able to
Yeah.
in recent years, like that would be the ideal. So in a way, like I guess the kind of concluding thought is that all of these things that I am doing on the stage,
Yeah.
they all feed into my career, and that is not by intent. I'm not doing them because, oh yeah, I've got him right here. Here's
Yeah,
Pierce
there he is.
Brosnan. I haven't replaced his face yet, so you can see where he's been thoroughly kissed in the previous show. Um, I don't think anyone would go, yeah, I'm making this because it'll create career opportunities. But it is a good encouragement to really push it.
Yeah.
And it's to go because I think there is a thing of like you're making a thing to be you know, creatively satisfying and in things like that. There is also something is, oh, if you feel like this could potentially benefit your future as well,
Yeah.
there is a motivation to really press into it and really push the boat out with it in terms of your ambitions of either, where you're going to take it, or or your ambitions of what you're going to add to it and build into it. Because yeah, demonstrating that I can do this stuff in the Pierce Brosnan show, someone might see that and go, yeah, we should book Alistair to make that for us.
Yeah. No,
And things like that.
totally.
So, and you can do that without the guilt of going, and I hate the fact that this guilt exists, but it does in this horrible late capitalist world that we live in. This isn't a productive use of my time.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you
Yeah.
can, anything I do, it can be framed as a productive use of my time. So the kind of
Totally.
the goblin of productivity does not rear his ugly head because,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
yeah,
it's interesting the way we're programmed. I did a little reel on this on Instagram last week, and I was like, do things that light you up because that's what life is about. Like,
yeah,
we may or may not got paid for that, but that's actually
yeah,
not the point. The point is this is our life, and
yeah,
we should be doing things that light us up, and we get caught in traps. But I mean,
yeah,
the other thing I'm thinking is like, this project that you're doing at the moment, it's it's almost like evidence that the investment that you've made in learning to do programming, gaming, performing, and they go like there's not many people with your particular blend of skills and abilities with and your particular experience. So the more and more you get kind of more uniquely into I don't want to call it a niche, but like you've created your own niche by just being yourself, and other people
yeah,
will go, oh my god, look, you've got all the things we're looking for. And so that's how you're kind of, so rather than focusing on necessarily creating money now, it's like you're creating value through
yeah,
yourself that maybe can be monetized later on. And also you're doing projects that really fulfill you because they're using all the things you love to do the most, which is like
yeah,
a win-win-win for everybody. So the clients get an
yeah.
expert, you get to do something really great and make load of money from it. It's like, I mean, that's the golden that's a golden triangle for everybody, I
Yeah.
reckon.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope it pays off. I mean, it's showing signs that it is coming together now, but it is an
Yeah.
interesting phase in my life at the moment where it is going from a sort of like, you know, theoretically this is an investment in my future to
Yeah.
going, to finding out if it actually is.
Totally. And I think like I work with a lot of people like this, and it's like the faith has to come first before the evidence
Yeah,
shows up. And it's like, but I think if you're enjoying yourself as much as you are, it's almost like
yeah,
if it works out, it's great, but I'm having a great time anyway.
yeah.
So
And look, if it doesn't work out, but I am able to find a position where I can, you know, continue, supporting myself and have time to make things, then I will also be very happy. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And leave the guilt of it's a Thursday morning, but I'm just gonna put a costume on and piss around for a bit because I can,
Yes.
rather than I should be doing something more serious.
Yeah.
It's all good. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
So
Totally agree.
anything else that you feel you haven't talked about before we finish?
Um, I can't think of anything at the top of my head, and I realize it's been almost an hour, so
It's fine. We have covered a lot.
yeah,
It's gone so quick. It's been really, really fun talking to you. And
yeah.
I hope
Can I plug
everybody,
some upcoming shows?
you can, of course, yes.
Ooh. So obviously I've mentioned Edinburgh Fringe. If any of you are up there at the Edinburgh Fringe, I'll be there August the 16th to the 30th at the City Cafe, 11 o'clock at night. So for some late night Pierce Brosnan action. The show's called My Date with Pierce Brosnan, and it's part of the free Fringe. So you get in for free and then pay what you like at the end.
Perfect.
Um, so yeah, I notice I'm doing the staring into camera as I do that. I did a lot of live streaming once upon a time as well, which could have been a
Oh,
whole other half-hour long tangent. But yeah, so but the other thing, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to stare right into the camera. The other thing I've got coming up is 4th of September down at Hamilton House. Got a show. It's the Brothers Grin versus. Uh, God, I forgot the name of it. This is annoying. The Blame of Thrones. That's it. So it's
okay.
Adorable Spies. The Brothers Grin versus Blame of Thrones. We're doing deathmatch improv. So this is the one where it's improv with a Nerf gun. While one team is performing, the other team has a Nerf gun and they can shoot the performers. If a performer gets hit with a Nerf bullet, that character dies and
Oh,
remains dead for the rest of the story, and the
interesting.
performers have to just improvise the show around that. It's a lot of fun. We did it with Tales of the Wasteland a couple of months back, and it was so much fun, and it generated some really kind of weird, unconventional, quite dark storylines. It was
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, brilliant. That sounds fantastic. And yeah, so I'm in after the interval. We're in the gauntlet in October.
Oh, oh,
So
brilliant.
we got called back to do it again. So we're in a
Yes.
show there somewhere. And I'm
Oh,
also part
fantastic.
of, yeah, while we're plugging things, I'm also part of the Wednesday night improv new troupe. And I will be in the September show, which is September the 9th. So thank you for reminding
Brilliant.
me to plug my own shows, Alistair.
Yeah, well, thank you for telling me that so I know to come along to it. That sounds wonderful.
You're welcome. And thanks everybody for watching. And yeah, I'll maybe do another interview pretty soon. But otherwise, enjoy improv and making money or not, and just having a lovely time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.